Okay, so graphs of quadratic functions. Okay, does anybody remember what a parent function is? It's the original, it's the simplest form of the equation. So the parent function of a quadratic is y equals x squared. You don't add anything else, you don't multiply by anything, it's just whatever x is squared. Okay, remember whenever we want to graph any type of function, you just pick values for x and then find the y value. So in this case, I'm going to do -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. I know when we were doing absolute value, we did -4, -2, 0, 2, and 4. It really doesn't matter as long as you get a good picture of what's going on. So what is my first x value I'm going to use? -2. So I'm going to take this -2 and plug it into that equation. So it'd be -2 squared. Now, when you do this in a calculator, if you can't do -2 squared in your head, remember a squared just means that number times itself. So if you do -2 times -2, what's a negative times a negative? Positive. So -2 times -2 is a +4. But watch what happens if you just type that into your calculator. So all I did was I hit negative down here, 2, and then squared, which is diagonal to 7. Notice it gives you a -4. The reason it does that is it's going to square first, and then it takes the negative. So make sure you always put parentheses. So put parentheses -2 and then squared, which is 4. It's right above the 8 and the 9, so you would hit that button right there. -2, close parentheses, squared. It's because it does order of operations. So it's going to square the number first, and then it takes the negative. So you have to tell the calculator that that 2 is negative that you're squaring.
Yeah, so I'm confused on how the -2 squared on
This one?
yeah, without parentheses. Why did it get -4 again?
So it did 2 squared. What's 2 times 2? 4. And then it put the negative. So with the parentheses, it tells the calculator the number I'm squaring is -2. So it takes that -2 times -2 and makes it a positive, because a negative times a negative is a positive. Okay, let's do the next one. -1 squared. So what's a -1 times a -1? +1. Again, you can type it in your calculator using parentheses. -1 squared gives you a +1. Okay, the next one. You can put parentheses if it doesn't have a negative. It really doesn't matter at this point, but I'll just be consistent and put a parentheses. So what is 0 squared, or what's 0 times 0? 0. Okay. What's 1 squared? What's 1 times 1? 1. And then 2 squared is 4. Now this is the parent function, so none of yours are going to be this easy. I just wanted to start out basic. So now let's go ahead and graph it. Uh-huh. Yep. So the first point is at -2, 4, so -1, 2. Yeah, it will kind of look like a V, but I'll show you the U in just a second. And then -1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, and 2, 4. So it actually makes it. The last time we were working on absolute value, this one actually makes a U. Because we only put a few points, it looks kind of like a V, but it actually makes a U. Now, why does this make a U? Why do we have two values that have a 4? Mm-hmm. And why does it do that? So if you think about it, what's a negative times a negative? Positive. So if you take the same number, -2 times -2, you're going to get a +4. If you take a 2 times a 2, you also get 4. So you have two values that give you the same thing. Kind of like absolute value, whenever you took the distance of a -4 and the distance of a +4, it was the same thing. So that's why your quadratics make that U. Does anybody remember what we call that? No. It's a parabola. So this is a parabola. That U shape that you see is called a parabola. Okay, what is this point right here called? So it's the vertex, and it's more specifically a minimum because it's the lowest point. And what is that? What's the coordinate of that vertex? 0, 0. Okay, so get your calculator. You need to clear it first because last hour they were using it for different things. So you need to hit second plus 712. Okay, now hit the y equals button, and we're going to type in this equation. What does the equation look like? Or what is the equation? So you're going to go back to the original equation, and you're going to use x squared. Now remember, the x is right here next to the alpha button. Next to that green button, it says x, comma t, comma theta, comma n. And then you're going to hit squared, which is diagonal to the 7. So x squared. Now hit the graph button, and it should draw it for you. Notice, where is the line of symmetry here? It is the y-axis, because remember, the line of symmetry is where it's a mirror image. This side looks like a mirror image of this side. Okay, now hit second table, or second graph. It's going to give you the table. You're going to have to do 2 problems on your worksheet where you have to do it by hand using the process, and then the rest of the worksheet you can just use the table. It will tell you to plot 5 points, so what it means by that is you're going to look at the -2, 4 in this table right here, -2, 4, and on the graph I'm going to go -2, 4, put a point, -2, or -1, 1, put a point, 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 4. and then draw the line. That's all it means by plot 5 points. Okay? So that's the parent function. That's the simplest form you can have. So let's go ahead and do one more, and then I'll let you do the worksheet. So let's do y equals negative x squared plus x plus 2. We're going to do it by hand first, and then we'll do it in the calculator again. And I would make this process column just a little bit bigger than the last one because you have a little bit more to do. So negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2. Okay, so what is our value that we're going to use on this first one? Negative 2. Now, watch this, because this is where you might make a mistake. So it's negative and then x squared. So you're actually going to have to put negative and then in parentheses negative 2 squared plus negative 2 plus 2. Yeah, you could. You could put just negative 2. That's fine. Now, you cannot do that on this first one, though, because you have to square the negative number first before you can even worry about combining those two. So I'm going to go over here to the side and do this by hand, and then I'm going to show you how you can just type this right here into the equation. So again, order of operations, you have to do the squared part first. So what's negative 2 times negative 2? 4. So it would be negative 4 minus 2 plus 2. What's negative 4 minus 2? Negative 6 plus 2 is negative 4. So addition and subtraction are pretty much the same thing. So I always just do left to right. But it doesn't matter because if you look, what's negative 2 plus 2? 0. And then what's negative 4 plus 0 is negative 4. Or negative 4 minus 0 is still negative 4. Okay, so watch. I'm going to show you how to type this in. You have to pay attention to the parentheses. So if you are on this screen, you can hit second mode. That will exit out. Make sure you use this negative button down here. So I'm going to do negative, then parentheses, negative 2 squared plus parentheses negative 2 plus 2. So I hit negative parentheses negative 2 close parentheses squared plus parentheses negative 2 close parentheses plus 2. And what do you get? Negative 4. So it's the same thing.
So once we figure out that first process thing,
Yeah, because you could, and now on this next one, watch this trick. I can hit second enter. It will retype that stuff, and all I have to do is go back and change this to a negative 1. But so hit second enter. It will retype the last thing that you typed. So negative 1 squared plus negative 1 plus 2. And what do you get? 0. So check, make sure that you put, oh, okay. Yeah, make sure you change in both places. And you can also think about this. What is a negative 1 times a negative 1? It's positive 1. So then it would be negative 1 minus 1. What's negative 1 minus 1? -2, and then -2 plus 2 is 0. Okay, let's do the next one. -0 squared plus 0 plus 2. What's 0 squared? Or 0 times 0? 0. What's -0 plus 0? 0 plus 2 is 2. But I'll still type it in. So second, enter. 0. Make sure you delete that. Delete 0 is 2. Okay, -1 squared plus 1 plus 2. Second, enter. 1, 1, 2. What do you get? 2. Is that an okay number to get? Why is it an okay number to get? It's going to bring it back and make the U. Okay. Last one, 2 squared plus 2 plus 2. Second, enter. 2 plus 2 is 0 again. So you should always be able to see a pattern if your numbers go far enough. Okay, let's check. Let's type it in our y equals to see if we did do it right. So hit y equals. Now, it's going to give you an error if you don't use this negative right here. So you need to hit negative x squared plus x plus 2. Second table, let's make sure our table was correct. So -2, -4, -1, 0, 0, 2, 1, 2, and 2, 0. Second graph. And then you can hit graph just to see. But I'm going to plot these points first. So I have -2, -4. So -1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. -1, 0, 0, 2, 1, 2, and 2, 0. I'm going to show you. So now, is this going to make a straight line right there, or what shape does this always make? It makes a U, so it's going to actually curve, and that vertex is going to be somewhere between what two numbers? 1 and 0. So it's going to be somewhere up there. Now, is this a minimum vertex or a maximum? It is a maximum because it's the highest point. So I'm going to show you how to use your calculator to find that, and then I promise we're done. So hit graph on your calculator. Now, do you see this button right here that says calc? Remember how we used it to find the intersection whenever we were doing systems? If you hit second trace, what do 3 and 4 say? Maximum and minimum. So if you notice a minimum and a maximum, you have to know which one to use. So in this case, we said it's a maximum. So I'm going to go to number 4, hit enter. Now, what does it say across the bottom of your screen? Left bound. Everybody raise your left hand. So left bound, all that means is get that cursor to the left of that maximum. So do you see how my cursor is currently on the left of that? Once your cursor is on the left, hit enter. Now it says right bound, so raise your right hand, and then move to the right of that maximum. And then hit enter one more time after it says guess. Now everyone's is going to be a little bit different. Yours might be 0.4999999, or it might be like mine where it says 0.50000. We'll have to look at it in just a second. So if you look, everyone should round to a 0.50, comma 2.25. So if you look, it's halfway between 0 and 1, and then it's 1, 2, and a fourth up. So that's the vertex. So again, I hit second trace and went down to the one that said maximum because this has a maximum point.